How are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
Well, just trying to recover from relatives and memorial service and
Oh,
all
yeah,
that
you
good
were going
stuff.
through the memorial service. I saw you mention that.
Yeah, we had a lot to
Yeah, you
organize
dealing
and
with
do.
all the people and
Yeah,
everyone's thoughts and
yeah,
everything else. Yeah, that buzzes around with seeing people you maybe haven't seen in a while either.
hmm.
Yeah. Well, I
Well,
just listened to a little bit of Tony and in the tail end. He said, "Well, this is Miserable Monday," only because we're not in the bank.
yeah, I know.
Yeah. So,
Well, she got sworn
uh,
in, didn't she, huh?
she what?
I say the Amy Barrett
Oh, yeah.
got
Yeah, she
confirmed.
was confirmed. That was good. Before the election, someone suggested that maybe we're waiting for that to happen too.
Yeah,
Certainly high on Trump's list of getting things done, I think.
yeah. Who knows? It could be.
Yeah. And then there's the stimulus. Nancy keeps kicking the can down the road. Well, we're close. Last I heard, she was talking about Tuesday, but maybe that's changed since Friday, when she was quoted.
I think
Oh, yeah, and that was, it turns out that, they're saying, well, we're waiting for the stimulus package, that is really necessary for moving forward, critical part of the critical path. And that's the only thing, what she's doing is the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah.
To be holding that up because, in my own opinion, that hurts her chances with the Democrats. She's trying to hold on to the House.
Yeah.
So, then there's an executive order that some are saying was signed Saturday for stimulus. But, show me. I didn't go looking for the order. If it was there, I'm sure we'd be hearing all about it.
Yeah.
So that remains to be seen. Yeah. What else? Really not much else. Trump's doing one or two rallies a day and going after Biden on fracking, trying to get Pennsylvania under his belt if he can. And, then there's that talk that Joe Biden might be headed to Canada, making an attempt for a run across the border. That was a QAnon being quoted.
You're kidding me.
I found in Sierra NZ's entry this morning.
Are you
And
serious?
I think that one or another one was really saying things like they knew some things that were going on, and I just can't recall because it's all over the place.
I know.
And you wonder, fact or fiction or
Yeah.
opinion, etc.
Yeah.
But yeah, and what is it with Joe Biden not campaigning, for the last week? And talk that 10% of his campaign staff quit after they saw the information on Hunter Biden.
Yes, I saw that
It was
too.
passed along.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, there
So,
isn't the excitement with Biden that there was with Hillary. That's for sure. And
yeah.
I don't
Oh,
see,
yeah.
I don't see how those polls are anywhere close to right.
No, I don't either. In fact, they were comparing the early voting with Hillary's early voting,
Yeah.
and the stats show that Biden is trailing her in terms of turnout and percentage of people who are voting and whatnot.
Yeah.
If true, then it sounds like he's losing. He's losing, And then the other thing is, how many, false votes does he have cranked into the system? I doubt that there's too much of that. I don't think, I don't know. You'd think that after 4 years and having gone through all that they'd be taking measures to prevent that. And I just heard today that, they wanted to put poll watchers at the polls to make sure that everything was done right. And then a court was saying, "Oh, you can't do that." So Trump is saying, "Well, we'll take it all the way to the Supreme Court." So there's that wrangling going on at that level. Yeah. And the Holly information I take is misinformation or disinformation. Taking it down to December for all this to happen, it doesn't even make sense when we're looking at every day whether it's happening or not and how close we are, and then to say, "Oh, we're going to wait till December." I think that's just there to muddy up the waters.
Yeah. The truth of the matter is nobody really knows.
Well, right, you're right. You see, and when Michael Control said, "Well, I don't think it's going to happen until after the election," I just said, "Oh no, it's going to happen before." But I don't know that. Okay?
Yeah.
It's just a gut feeling. That's all.
Yep.
How do I know? You can kind of read the general picture and get a sense, but that's about all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, one says the other one is full of it, and then someone else says that one's full of it, and you really don't know. And they could all be sincere and, believe that what they're being told by whomever, and, as they put it all together, is the real thing, too.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's right. I agree.
Yeah. Well, it gets back to that parable of the 5 blind men and the elephant. You can look that up in Wikipedia. 5 different blind men have a hand on an elephant, and they're describing the elephant, and they all have a different take on the elephant because they're touching different parts.
Yep.
And they're all claiming that they know.
Yep.
We all know a little bit. It's hard to get your arms around the whole thing. But we follow, our nose, our gut, and our cues, if you will, that we take to be, the direction where we're going. I very much believe we're still looking at this week. Just leave it there.
It's interesting what they're thinking about doing with social media, like breaking up the Facebook, for example. I didn't realize they bought up all these other social platforms.
Oh, I didn't know that. But,
I didn't either.
There's monopoly going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's face it. It's really undermining our democracy if you can't have free speech.
Yeah.
That's simple.
Yeah, that's right.
And when you put a group of people inside a private corporation inside that's not good for the country. So you need some kind of better scheme, let's put it that way, for determining, what's proper and how to, and the recourse, who are your judges and what's the process for remediating, or turning around anything, or it's just not there. It's whatever they're making up, their own algorithms or whatnot.
That's right.
So, and I don't like to put it all on the government either. See, maybe at least, it gets down to regulation and how much regulation, and then people are always playing with the regulations,
right,
piling them up, and you don't even know it. And then you're surrounded by them one day when they show up at the door, and it's a lot of power in the government. Just thinking about all the times that social services can come into your home and take your kids away.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And how do you get your kids back? You're finding out that maybe you can't, or they know you can't because you don't have the means to fight them. And you never see your kids again is what I'm thinking, because of the stories you've heard. I'm just using that as an example of how regulation and government can run rampant over us. And likewise with a corporation, or just a few people who are self-appointed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's a perennial problem. So, the expectation is that we're going to hear the stuff about the deeper stuff on what's on Hunter Biden's laptop, and that'll shock everyone. And does that come before the election or after? I don't know.
There's something being released every day, and we've been told that it will be released every day.
Yeah, I think Mark was talking about that. He didn't have a whole lot to say, other than, it was a kind of a dead weekend news-wise, but that he was hearing that there was some big things coming out today, tomorrow, so we'll see. I was watching One American News, and they're complaining about the other part of the mainstream media that just isn't reporting all the facts. And, and how Trump did his 60 Minutes with Leslie Stahl, and the White House sent over all kinds of information, all the things that he's done, and talked about maybe Biden or something like that. And, she just didn't even, address any of that. She just went after him in her own, prescribed way of, let's see what we can do to take him down. So, nothing new, but it's something that it's interesting to hear, at least hear a journalist talk about it, another journalist saying you're not serving democracy this way, and, they're sparring a little bit.
Yeah.
There's more of that kind of rhetoric out there, I think. And I think that's what some people are saying, that people are waking up that there's censorship going on, like with Twitter and Facebook.
Yep.
I think someone mentioned 7.5 million entries or something on those platforms were taken down. So they're really getting the attention of a lot of people in a short time by doing that, while they're blocking information. And I think it had to do with Hunter Biden's material. They didn't want that getting out there to the public. So that wakes people up. If you won't, they realize, they're taking away our information, and people are buzzing about that. So I think it sounds like the end for those companies in some respect.
Yeah, I agree.
They're going to lose their credibility.
I agree.
What else? Well, I was encouraged to hear from Charlie Ward, about some things about money moving in Hong Kong and maybe a few other places that he seemed to be directly connected to, or bonds, I think.
That is exactly
that
right.
showed up in the notes on Restored Republic last day or so. But not a whole lot new, as far as timely information. Supposedly, Trump did an executive order on stimulus on Saturday, day after that Bruce said he would do it. And what else I can recall that Charlie talked about? Oh, there was some talk, maybe this is some woman named Jean Decode that
Yes.
South Africa went after Queen Elizabeth
Right.
in court regarding monies. Maybe they were stolen, some other kinds of stuff. And yeah, I don't know. Well, there are all kinds of different issues. I think there's other things going on in Italy right now. So I forget what it's related to. I'm sorry, I'm just drawing a blank here.
There's just so much to keep track of. It makes your head spin.
Yeah, I mean, even if you aggregate all that information, it just changes the next day, and after 3 or 4 days, you forget what you read the other day because there's so much new and kind of like, this seems important, and it's so easy even to forget some of the important things.
Yeah.
You got the mainstream media. If you're paying attention to them, they're distracting you with their information. It takes you away from maybe what you think is important.
Yeah.
Trying to take it all in. So we get diluted. Let's see. Well, we have peace with Sudan and Israel. Saudi Arabia is on deck, I think.
Yes.
And, well, there was another mention, with respect to the dinar, that there are several, I'm going to say several, I think it's at least 5 currencies that are going to be in a basket.
Mm-hmm.
That's the regional kind of dinar that'll surface. So I don't know how that'll work, but if they're all equal anyway to the dollar, what's the difference? I don't know. That's over my pay grade, so I'll tell you that. Yeah. So, nothing else on the currency side. Oh, Michael Murdoch came out and offered rates the other day on the dinar and the dong and the zim, 1 to 1 on the zim, and I think he was up there in the 16 or 18 or even higher on the dinar and the dong, real close by. But I don't take that guy very seriously. There was an entry in Restore Republic about Kim. You remember Kim and Tank?
Oh my
Kim
goodness.
Guggen?
Yes.
That they're saying that she worked for the Black Dragons, which is the Rothschilds. I don't know how they throw the dragon in there with them. I mean, I think of the Chinese or the Asians that way, but that they were trying to get the codes to work to run their system, but those codes will not work at this time. And I don't know if they ever would work. That was a note that was in Restore Republic's intel.
Really?
Different. I never thought that person could be trusted. Yeah, they weren't talking straight. They weren't, and that's because they're hiding something usually.
Yeah.
And that's the way I took her. And Tank, I really thought he was a pretty nice guy. Good, but he's a real slippery, fast-talking guy too. And he teamed up with her and said no. And eventually I just stopped following them. I found them became disinterested. But there it comes up that they were trying to get the codes in for their system, and she was kind of arguing like that. So I thought that might be an explanation. One of those other topics of past interest, and let's see, there was mention that the gold, and I don't know if it was, I think Charlie Ward said, tunnels under the Vatican going all the way to Jerusalem, 1,500 miles, and 150 miles of gold stacked 30 high. 30 bars high, I guess. And these tunnels, how wide, they didn't say. And he said that was gold that he moved to Fort Knox and other places.
Who moved it?
Kelly, he was part of the team that moved it
Really?
from the Vatican and from their tunnels. 150 miles long of gold, stacked 30 high. You know, like I said, he didn't say how wide, but, you know, even if it's just 1 bar wide and 150 miles long, that's a lot.
I would certainly think so. My goodness.
And that's mostly gold. I think they're claiming it was stolen and maybe taken from Jerusalem during, the old wars.
Yeah.
But how do you know, how do you know whose gold is what? Hard to know. Unless people have made claims along the way and you believe them.
Yeah, right.
I thought that was pretty interesting that, if you try and kind of size up things. Yeah. Well, it's just a little this and that I picked up on. It's kind of interesting, but I have no way of verifying any of it.
When it's all over with, what'll be fun is to look back on what research we've done and how close we are with.
Yeah, I think that's part of the fun here.
Yeah.
We're drawn into it, and then, what did you learn from the process? Okay, how close did you get? I mean, we all like to be close and see if, if you're really, how good you might be. But it's really about learning how to gauge things and
that's right.
judge things.
That's right.
Yeah, and a lot of other things. Going back again to Kevin Arnett, in British Columbia, talking about all those bodies buried at the Canadian Indian School and putting it on the Queen. What?
Yeah.
And then they're telling me why? What? This is just bizarre. No.
It didn't make sense at the time.
Around. Yeah. So anyway, it's a trip. It's learning to change your mind. And, like I said, trying to see how close you can come to, pinning the tail on the donkey, if you will.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll get a lot of benefit out of this with hindsight, Don. You're right.
Was I right or was I wrong?
How close was I is really the question, Yeah. Well, how can you be right if you don't really know what's going on? It gets down to show me the signed document. Let me read let me read the Treaty of Versailles, before you just tell me what it's about. And ultimately, that's what you have to do, rather than trust someone retelling you a story. Yeah. You have to have some fact checkers.
That's right.
Yeah. And it's fun some of these people, these QAnons, are pretty good at coming up with their own speculation. Some of it's interesting. Hey, just a possibility. So, are we going to get any arrests this week before the election?
I think you mean arrests? Yes, I think it's...
high-level arrests, I mean.
I think it's happening all along, and we just haven't known it. But that's my thinking.
Well, I'm looking for the ones that we're supposed to know, but or that would go public. That's what I've been led. I think I've been led to believe will happen. I'm not even sure of that. But yeah, just kind of throw it out there, see if you got a thought on that. Just a guess, yes or no. You just don't know. Um, but, maybe if Hunter Biden, well, maybe he's already been arrested, but maybe if he hasn't and they do arrest him, that would be some pretty big news, I think, because, Joe's associated. And is Joe then disqualified from being president if he can be indicted? Yes. Yeah. Do you want to do that? Upset the electorate? If Barr did that, they'd put it. They'd say Trump caused it. Wouldn't they?
Exactly.
That's what I think. Yeah. Well, anyway, maybe we'll have civil unrest before, and the military will step in. And that's the other big kind of news type item is that the militaries around the world have been put on high alert or made to be ready, not just the U.S. but the world. So, I mean, that kind of information kind of supports the notion that things are about ready to break, if it's true. So, if it'll be a lie, yeah, we know that. But anyway, so there's Tuesday, Wednesday, and then they say, according to Judy, Tuesday, Wednesday, and going forward. In other words, the can is perpetually kicked down the road, it's just day by day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as Tony mentioned in Iraq, they were really protesting, but I think they were also remembering the people who did die in the riots. I guess it was 1 year ago to that day, is what they're saying, if I'm not mistaken. And there was a lot of expectation that things would change yesterday. So, but all these things, too, offer people the ability to listen in to other people and see which way they'll move. Just looking at it from military intelligence strategy. It's about as far as I can go with it. Any of this stuff. Only so far. Yeah.
Well, I guess time will tell, won't it?
That's it. That's always the answer. Time will tell.
Okay, my friend. Well, we'll sign off for now and see what tomorrow brings.
All right. Okay.
Okay, my
Have
friend.
a good night, Dan.
You bet.
Take care.
Bye-bye.